Yeah.
And maybe, Robin, you can start off here and just talk a little bit about this and then go on to the next.
Yeah. So the AccuLife are the pain patches that are made specifically for horses, but they're pretty interchangeable, it seems, with the LifeWave patches for people. They're really similar. And so we found that they really do offer overall, sort of reduction in pain and so on. And I have used this with my own dog. I have a Jack Russell Terrier that's 14, and he actually has a torn cruciate ligament. And so he was limping quite a bit, but he's a small dog and older, so they thought surgery, we didn't maybe need to do it. And I found that using the patches has really diminished his pain levels. And he's going to run around anyway. People say, well, isn't that going to actually make him worse? But he runs just as fast. He just doesn't limp as much, and he's not shaky and so on when he's got the patches on. So I put them on for a couple of days. I take them off, and then I put them on again. And he's actually really doing pretty well. And I've got him off of, in his case, he'd had as much pain meds as he could actually have. So it's really been a big difference to him.
And Robin, talk about ISIS, because you see the patches, of course.
Right. So ISIS is a 29-year-old horse, and I think the slide of that is further down, actually.
It is.
Yeah, so we'll talk about him when we get to the patch or to that slide, maybe, because it just tells a little bit more about his story. So
yes.
if we go to the next slide. So this was a really interesting slide for me, or this little story. And Quila actually was the first horse that she patched. And when you're patching horses, because you can't ask them where the pain is, the same with dogs. But so what she did is she just kind of palpated the neck a bit and found out where he had pain. And they did this he has a split mane. And if you're a non-horse person, you may not know that if a horse, horses generally the mane will fall to one side, and sometimes you'll have a mane that will fall part on one side and part on the other. And one of the things that a lot of the chiropractors look at when they see that is that it means that there's a subluxation in the vertebrae. So it's basically gravity is pulling the neck. There's it from one side or the other. So you can see where the mane's about halfway. And then so she just went along and patched the neck in the neck. Where is their patch there? You have the next slide, maybe, Quila.
It's up behind the ear, between the halter and the ear.
Oh, I see. Right up. Yeah, in front of the halter.
No, there isn't one there now.
There isn't. So how about go to the next
there
slide?
We go.
Let's see. So she patched further down on the base of the neck, basically at C5, and then up and starting along the bladder meridian. You can start to see the mane has started on its own to just flip over without brushing it or without doing anything. And then a little bit further along, you just go to the next slide, you can see how all that was left. This was in a matter of 10 minutes or so, is that what you said?
Actually, it was probably even 5 minutes or so, because as fast as I could put the patches on, I went to the other side to finish up. And
so
by that
I
time...
feel that this is pretty significant, because I've had this happen with a few horses of doing a session of T-touch and maybe heat and having it go over the next day, but I've never seen anything. And then now the mane was then all over to one side, which that was really interesting. All right, so then Isis is the next one, and this horse of Sandy Rakowitz has been 29-year-old thoroughbred gelding with arthritis and maybe lines, and he really started to kind of go downhill, and she couldn't really give him any more bute. And she had used lots of T-touch, she used essential oils, and a lot of alternatives. But the LifeWave patches, he started to move around, more willing to move, moving more freely, and was more able to eat. Now, I actually just heard from Sandy today, and she is using them actually now on his front legs on one of the meridians, and she changes them a couple of times a week, and he is just doing really, really well. She's really pleased. So, Linda, let's maybe you could move on to this. Is this little Eve?
Yes, this was my first dog that I patched in Berlin, and she's a 6-year-old Yorkie who is in the home of one of our really outstanding practitioners, dog trainers, has a big dog training school in Berlin, and she has some really good people try to work on this dog's back, but they could not touch her back. She was really super sensitive, and they couldn't put a harness on her. And so I said, well, let's just put the patches on her, and I just put them on. That was easy to do that. And within less than a minute, I could touch her like this. And she just was so totally quiet and really interested. And then we put the harness on her, and the next day in the class, everybody could touch her. And 1 week later, Katya said it's the first time since she had her, she played with the pack. She'd never dared to play. So I was very blown away by this. Look at the other little picture of her. This is, you can see where she was willing to stand up and stand quietly with everybody, and she was very interested in this. So let's move on. Now this was Kiwi. This was another dog who looks pretty fierce in this one. She was also 8 years old, super sensitive. She's had a great deal of work on her. Wonderful, all kinds of wonderful chiropractic work. But she was very concerned about her hindquarters and didn't want to use the back legs separately. When she would step over things, she'd hop over them. She could not separate her back legs. And I just put the patches on her and did some of our tail work and different touches on her, and she was really enjoying it. And what Gabi said, Gabi is one of our dog trainers from Germany, she said that she knows that she loves the patches. When she goes to put them on, she actually is interested and will come up and ask for them. And this has been March last year, and she just continues to get more supple and more, really improved with these patches.
Nice. So I think, Quila, as maybe you're going to tell us a little bit about how they work.
Sure, thank you. The patches work very differently from everything else that I had ever done. I'd done a lot of energy work in my 30, 40 years of acupuncture and natural medicine. They actually work kind of like acupuncture, but without needles. You put them on the sore spots, as in the case of the horses that you saw, or the dog. Palpate, find the spot where they kind of flinch, and put them on. And yet, as you could see in some of the pictures, the backing, the paper backing, was not taken off because nothing goes in the body. It works on a signal, kind of like a light signal, that when it gets close to the body, it fires, and if the body needs the signal, it will pick it up and use it. So you can't overdose on it. And it works along the same principles as acupuncture, in that if there is a problem in the body with pain or some other dysfunction, that means the energy is not flowing, just like what principles you use in T-Touch. And so the patches actually give the body a signal that tells it to move, and the body picks up the signal and does the moving. So the pain patches and the energy patches are a two-patch system. White is on the right side of the body usually, and tan on the left. With the pain patches and the AccuLife patches for the animals, we can actually move them pretty much any way we want. And they come in a set, just like this, with patches in a little package of white and tan. There are other patches, but all of them work along the same way. This is showing you how the signal, this is under magnification, of course, and then Kirlian photography over here, showing you how the signal, when it gets close to the body of the animal or the person, kind of fires, and you get this light signal coming off, and that's what the body picks up and uses. Very, very unique and very different compared to most other, for instance, acupuncture modalities. And I found that as an acupuncturist, I could use the patches and get far faster and quicker results especially like with pain, than I could when I was using needles or magnets or some of the other ways that I was doing acupuncture. Now, what impressed me most about the patches was in the very beginning, they had research, and they've continued the whole 8-9 years they've been in business, spending well over $1 million on at least 68 clinical studies that shows that these patches do what the company says. Most other companies don't go to this kind of trouble, if you will, and expense to prove that their products work to this extent, that they're very much into the science behind it. In fact,
Can I just interrupt you for 1 minute?
Please.
There was just a question on somebody, Nikki, one of the callers says she's lost all sound, and I wonder if other people have as well. It was just came in on the as a question.
Because
I don't know.
Yeah, if she has the only one,
Somebody put their hand up too.
yeah, go ahead and check.
I'm just
Okay,
checking to
sound is
see.
fine. Okay.
Quila, maybe they could get onto their phone. There's also a phone line that
Phone
people
number.
can dial in on.
Yeah, Nikki's from South Africa, so sound okay here from Bob. So maybe it was just, so Nikki seems to be the only one so far that has lost her sound.
So you might check your connection and all.
Yeah, well, she won't be able to hear us that, will she?
Oh, yes.
Oh, she can probably see us. Just a minute, maybe I can send her a thing. So it seems like everybody else is, so I'll just send
logging
her a
out,
message.
go
Go ahead,
back.
sorry.
Yeah, she can log out and go back in, yeah.
Thanks, Robin.
Okay, yeah, glad to know. We don't want Nikki to be out. So what I'll do is, oops, sorry about that. I'm going to go down here and click on the panel at the, oops, into the here. I'm going to get
got her sound
my
back. Okay, good,
panel
thanks.
up here. Oh, wonderful, Nikki. Good. Want to get my screen back up so I can go do the research. You guys, for some reason it's not coming up. There it is.
Sorry,
Okay.
it's not coming up.
So what I'm going to do is show you. Yeah, I'm going to show. Sorry about that. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to show you where you're going to find this research that we're talking about. Darn. It's auto hide panel for me, and I don't want it to. So let me go up and
Okay, so the research showing now.
look at that. There we go. There we go. All right. So this is the LifeWave website, and we have some links down on other slides to show you. It'll be Life.